Okay. All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Mike Halverson, supervising attorney with the Disaster Relief Project, Legal Aid of North Carolina. And we're here to talk today about the fascinating topic of property insurance, specifically with respect to natural disasters. My team has been working for over a year now on helping people get back to the best of their ability after Hurricane Florence. We also had cases where people were impacted by Hurricane Matthew. But this would obviously be more broadly applicable than that. Tornadoes, lightning, other natural disasters, all would fall under the coverage of this program. So as you can see, I've stolen a line from Jerry Maguire for the title to show me the money or not. And we'll get to that in a minute. Why am I locked up? There we go. Okay. Why do we need insurance? To quote the comedian Chris Rock, almost, I have to paraphrase because this is a family-friendly presentation in case stuff happens. Nobody wants to purchase insurance. It's costs money that we would rather put to something else. We can all understand that, particularly these days that you have expenses beyond insurance. But the main goal of the insurance is to protect your investment. If you own a home, that is, for most people in the country, their largest investment. And if you do not have it insured and something happens to it, it's going to be very expensive for you to fix it. And if you are doing that all out of your own pocket, that's going to be mostly impossible and take a very long time. If you have a mortgage, property insurance would be required under the terms of your mortgage because the bank is protecting its investment, basically the collateral that is your house. So if your house gets destroyed, they don't have anything that they can recover from. So you would have to have it in that regard. And then, of course, the last point is to aid in recovery. Like I say, if your home was struck by lightning, then homeowners insurance will help that get fixed so that you can have a new roof and whatever else might have been damaged in that. When I say aid in recovery, it has a particular meaning with respect to disasters because the disaster impact is so great. It's not like a fender bender in your car where you could get by with the car as is, but if you have lost your home or half of your home or what have you, your life is turned upside down. Now, if you have good insurance to cover that loss, then it will aid in your recovery. All right. So, types of property insurance. Two broad categories, homeowners and renters with respect to property. So homeowners insurance are going to cover the real property, that is the house, the structure, and personal property that is in the house, normal things like furniture and that type of thing. And then liability, meaning if someone is walking by your house and something gets blown off of the house, or a tree falls from your yard and lands on someone's car, that covers you from being personally liable for that. Again, with respect to real property, it is the structure. Most insurance policies will explicitly say that they do not cover the land that is on that the house is on. Even though I mentioned the tree falling earlier, the tree would be covered, the damage it would cause. But so then renters insurance, since you're renting and you don't actually own the structure, whether it be a condo, apartment, home, whatever, it just covers the personal property, the possessions that are inside the home, things that are can be moved from the home. Now, the next 2 points are critical points that we have certainly with legal aid and specifically with the disaster recovery project, we have encountered lots of issues for clients with respect to these last 2 points on this slide. Actual cash value versus replacement cost value. While those sound similar, there's a big difference. Actual cash value is the value of what was lost, what was damaged, minus depreciation. So let's say, for example, your roof is damaged and it's going to cost $10,000 to replace the roof, but your roof was 15 years old. There is a depreciation schedule out there where the insurance company is going to say, okay, $10,000 to fix it, but it's been there for 15 years. So we're only going to pay you $4,500, and tying into the next deductible, the next bullet deductible, that's going to reduce your award further. So you may have $10,000 worth of damage that needs to get replaced, and you get $4,500 worth of money to do it with. On the other hand, replacement cost value is just what it sounds like. If it's $10,000 to replace your roof, you're going to get $10,000 of insurance proceeds minus the deductible. And the deductible is basically the insurance company wants you to have some skin in the game when you get this recovery done or these repairs done. So the deductible is, there's several different ways that deductibles are placed into the policy. There can be a percentage of certain coverages under the policy. It can be just a straight number for different types of coverages. But when I say importance of deductibles right there, what I mean is you want that deductible to be as low as possible, because that's the money that you are going to be responsible for. So taking those last 2 items into account, if you have an actual cash value policy, which most most homeowners policies are, by the way, unless you pay for more. So you, like I said earlier, you get $10,000 worth of damage, and based on the depreciation, it's now $4,500 is what you are actually going to be compensated. But you have a deductible that's $2,500. So now you have to replace a $10,000 roof with $2,000, and that's just not possible. Unfortunately, I've seen many cases where my clients have had deductibles significantly above that, and they actually get no recovery, nothing to help fix their home. All right, what is covered? On the real property, as I said, it covers the structure, but what does that mean exactly? That means the exterior of the dwelling or home and other structures, such as a shed, a fence that might be attached to the house, those types of things. If the damage is caused by a windstorm or hail, such as during a thunderstorm, tornado, or hurricane. Now, so going back to the last slide in the example, the roof, that's part of the damage that would be caused by the windstorm and should be covered by the policy, except for the depreciation and deductible. Now we get to the interior of the home, and this is something that really surprises most people when they find out that just because their roof is now leaking because of the storm, the interior damage is not covered. And that's because most policies in North Carolina include language that say that the damage to the interior is covered if the force of the wind causes an opening in the roof or wall and rain enters through that opening. And the insurance companies have written these policies this way because they're in the business of making money and not paying on claims. So oftentimes people will have a lot of damage on the inside, but there's no actual evident hole in the wall or roof, so their claim will be denied for that reason. And then personal property, as I mentioned earlier, typical things in a home: furniture, electronics, appliances, that big flat screen TV that you have hanging on the wall. You're going to want that. You're going to want money to replace that if that gets damaged. But again, if the damage is not if it's water damage and it's not caused by water that came in through a hole that the storm itself created, then you're going to be out of luck. So we're back to the title, Show Me the Money or Not. All right. Okay, the big things that are not covered: water damage, water damage, water damage. Every policy has a large exclusion for water damage. Most people think that they have flood insurance when in fact they do not. If you have flood insurance, your policy will say this is a flood insurance policy. And if you don't have that, it will say in big letters, this does not cover floods. So if you live in a floodplain, you will have to have flood insurance if you have a mortgage. And then flood water damage is really meant to be anything except rain, anything that's not falling from the sky. So if the water floods up against the side of your house and leaks in through the door, that's not covered. That is flood damage, water damage. If the levee breaks, to quote Led Zeppelin, and here comes the flood down the street, and a big log comes and rams through the side of your house, you're not covered because that log was carried by the water, which had escaped its banks. Also doesn't include, if you live down by the coast, it also does not include storm surge and things of that nature. That is also excluded under these policies. All right, storm came through. We hunkered down, everything's, it's all done, it's over, we're not gonna die. So what do we do now? Well, as soon as it's safe, you get in touch with your insurance agent and you say, oh, we got hit by Hurricane Florence, trees are down, shingles are lying in the yard, whatever the situation is. That takes me to that next bullet, prevent further damage. If it is safe for you to do so, and it is practical to do so, you would want to, for example, tarp off a roof that has one of those storm-created holes in it, just so that you don't have additional damage being caused because you're sitting and doing nothing. Again, if that's safe to do, if you are older or in poor health or poor physical condition, then seek a neighbor out who, in these types of situations, neighbors will step in to help you out and hopefully, help tarp the roof. Little tip on tarping the roof. I've seen plenty of these where people put the tarp halfway down one of the elevations of the roof, and that doesn't do very much good because the water still runs down the roof under the tarp and into the hole. So must be all the way over the peak to prevent that. And then you want to document the damage. And what I mean here is photos, photos, photos. Everything that was damaged in the storm or by the storm, whether it's inside the house or outside the house, you need to take pictures, lots and lots of pictures. And because we're coming up on hurricane season, June 1st, now's the time to take pictures of your house as it is today, because a picture that shows damage is not worth as much if there's not a picture from beforehand when there was no damage, right? So take pictures of everything. Once you've got the claim filed, you need to stay in contact with your adjuster or the agent. If you do not, if they lose touch with you, your claim's just going to get tossed aside. Okay, now, personal property. If you got a bunch of furniture that got flooded or rained on, damaged by the storm, let's say, the wind blew out the window and the couch got drenched in rain for 2 days because it was a big hurricane, and now that couch is a total loss, or at least you think it is. You need to document that on an inventory, as I mentioned in the next one, but you got to create an inventory of what's damaged. But unless the insurance company tells you you can go ahead and throw that away, you have to keep it. You cannot just throw it away because they might come back and say, well, we didn't get a chance to look at it. Like, great, you got pictures, but we didn't get a chance to look at it. So we're going to have to deny your claim on that. And, so now you can't get a new couch. And then you should attempt to, and I know it's very, very difficult after a hurricane because a lot of people have damage and everybody's trying to hire a contractor and or get a contractor. And so you want to get a hold of a contractor. Caveat here, preferably a local contractor who is not going to take your money and run without doing any work for you because they just came in from Texas or Louisiana or someplace where they didn't just have a disaster, and get that estimate. You should never have to pay for an estimate. It should be free. So what they're going to do is they're going to come in, they're going to look at everything that's damaged, and they're in the business of making money, so they're going to hope they end up getting hired by the insurance company. Now, what they need to do, and you need to ask for, is a detailed line by line estimate, not $5,000 for the living room and $2,500 for the kitchen. It's got to be a line item because that's how the insurance company is going to look at it. All right. So after that, after you've filed your claim, insurance company is going to do its own inspection and investigation. They're going to send out their own adjuster who may be an employee of the company, maybe an independent adjuster, might, any number of situations, especially after a natural disaster like Hurricane Florence. There's going to be a lot of people coming in from out of town that are adjusters that are hired just to do these claims. So after they've done their investigation, you will receive written notice in the form of a letter that says that you are denied coverage for any number of reasons, or you are provided coverage and we will pay X dollars. So like I say there, denial of coverage, no money; approval of coverage, some money. When I say some, that goes back to the discussion from earlier on actual cash value, depreciation, and deductibles. Okay, so you get your letter from your insurance agent and insurance company, and you're all excited because, okay, we're going to get some money, and it says that you were denied. So why was I denied? I have damage. I had a policy, and I did everything they told me to do. Well, the policies have what are called exclusions. And as my old law professor used to say, the policy giveth and the policy taketh away. So the policy will say, we cover for this, but not this, or this, or not under these circumstances. Like you said, I had a client today that has, they have a lot of damage on the interior of the house, but that part about the wind having to create an opening through which that water damage, or through which that water gained access to the house, that excluded them from coverage. Then the damage could be outside the coverage period. Let's, for example, perhaps your policy lapsed. So your policy was a November 1 to November 1 policy, and the storm hit on November 2, and you hadn't paid your premium. You might be in a grace period there, but you get the point. There's people have been canceled for various reasons, and if the loss happens outside of that 1 year period that policy is in effect for, then you're not going to be covered. Then there's prior or existing damage. What that is, often referred to as deferred maintenance. That means that the adjuster came out and looked at your house and said, well, okay, part of that roof did get blown off in the storm, but from the parts that are there, I can tell that that is 30 years into a 20-year warranty roof. So we're not covering any of it because the shingles should have been replaced 10 years ago, or other things like that. And there's lots of ways they can see that. They can tell if there's evidence of rust or other things of that nature that are going to tip them off that this is not all caused by this storm, or even if it was partially, it wasn't solely because of that. And that can also tie back into the depreciation issue. that I talked about earlier. And then the failure to comply with policy requirements. Like I mentioned before, they lose track of you, they lose contact with you, or you don't respond to them within the time frame that they say that you need to respond to them. And this kind of ties back into the policy exclusions. If you had a claim for Hurricane Matthew in 2016, and the insurance company paid you, let's just say $44,000, because I have this client, and they get hit again in Hurricane Florence, and lo and behold, the same adjuster goes to the house, and lo and behold, notices that none of the repairs that the company had paid them $44,000 for in 2016 were ever made. So two things happen there. They get denied on their claim for Hurricane Florence because they failed to comply with the policy requirements, which if we pay you, you fix the house is a policy requirement. And two, there's a specific exclusion for that. So if you do get money from the insurance company to fix the house, you have to fix the house. So far, my client that I was just referring to has not been, the insurance company has not demanded the money back yet, but that is a possibility. Okay, now I was approved, but money won't cover the repairs. Okay, like I talked about at the beginning, high deductibles, actual cash value, and things were damaged. Things that were damaged were not covered. Trust me, there are more ways for the insurance company to get out of coverage than there are for you to get into coverage. And that's why you have to be very careful when you purchase your insurance policy. I will tell you that the best thing to do is to purchase the most coverage that you can afford to purchase, because the least expensive plan is the one that's going to have the highest deductible. It's guaranteed to have an actual cash value policy, and there's going to be a lot of exclusions that you don't think about. First thing you should do now, if you have it, get a hold of a copy of your policy. And when they send you the 3 or 4 pages that list out what your coverages are, that is not your policy. That's what's called a declaration sheet or declarations page. It just tells you what you paid for and the limits of your policy. It has nothing to do with what the policy actually says. You'll know if you got the right policy because it'll be about 40 pages long. All right, so I've been denied, or I don't have enough money to fix my house because of what we just talked about. What do I do? All right, you can submit additional damage information. If you get a new if you didn't originally have an estimate, you can get an estimate and send it to the insurance company. Let's say the insurance company's estimate was $10,000, and you believe there's really more damage than that. Have a contractor put one together and send it in, and perhaps the insurance company will be persuaded to give you more money. And then there's always, you can consult an attorney. You can call legal aid at the number listed at the bottom, 866-219-5262, and see if you qualify for our services. And one of us will look into whether that denial or the limited amount of money that you were given was correct under the policy, or you can hire a private attorney to do the same thing for you. And we've reached the point where I say, do you have any questions? Anna, let me know if we're done.
I'm not seeing any questions.
Okay. Well, just tell me when we're done so I can